YouTube world? How y'all doing out there in the YTPC? Sipping on some chocolate milk this evening. Before I get ready to go to work, I kind of developed a little bit of some heartburn, and so I figured I'd drink something that wasn't too acidic. Um, well, title of the video is Native Flute and Chat, and I'll introduce this flute to you. This flute here is what they call a high spirits flute, and it's in the key of A. And I cannot remember the name of the artist slash carver that made this flute, but this flute here is made of a material that is no longer being made out, that flutes are no longer being made out of. It is, if you look at the collar that you see, this red and then this like lighter red, or as it might appear on the camera, maybe a darker brown to a lighter brown. This here is made of Spanish cedar. And the unique thing about Spanish cedar, as well as the hardest thing about Spanish cedar, is 1 out of 6 blinks successfully becomes a flute. Now, also, if you observe, this flute is also a 5-hole flute, a traditional Cherokee style flute. However, I don't think this wood was indigenous to the Cherokee Nation that I'm aware of, but it is made in the same style. And also the bird, that this little piece right here is called a bird. If you take this piece off that's wrapped up in leather here, then it would be one big old hole there. And this is what helps the flute have a voice. And this here is also one whole piece drilled through and carved through. You can see a pretty good ways down there. And the care for this flute, well, you don't have to put beeswax on it, but what you do is you wipe it down, and on the inside of it you pour mineral oil in it, and you let it sit and dry for about anywhere between 3 days. I would give it 2 weeks, me personally, just to really allow the oil to absorb into the wood and everything. And it helps preserve the sound, keeps it from cracking, and also takes out any moisture that builds up inside of the flute from play, as well as just with current weather and everything going on. And the people that I got this off of was at a powwow one year, and it's a couple. Well, hey, how's it going, Max Wolf? Nice to see you're watching, and I hope you're having a great, wonderful day, and I'm glad you're enjoying this. Anyways, I got this from a powwow, and because I'm bad at remembering names, I think the folks, it's a man and a wife. I don't know if I'm pronouncing their last names right, but I think their last names is Dispinant or Dispidant. I'm not sure how it's pronounced, but they're both native, and they have taken great pride in not only selling these quality flutes, but they also take great pride in keeping the history alive, as well as, educating people about the flute and its history and all sorts of things. And along with that, I would like to share with you a bit of a traditional story. about the flute and what the flute really was and how it played a part in Native American culture, as well as as well as just a piece of history that's still living. Um, a long time ago, the this style of native flute, well, not just this style, but all styles of native flutes actually almost become dangerously extinct because on account of when the the white settlement that had moved in during the time period of when all the Indigenous Removal Act was going on in this continent and and everything. Um, they was even trying to wipe out the culture itself, and some of the elders that made the flutes hid them away so that they would not get destroyed, and then secretly they had taught new generations about the flute, and so there gradually from those folks that were had done that and hid away the flutes and everything, then the native flutes that you hear today and see today, have been able to be around. And along with that, here's a little bit of a little traditional story about courtship. See, the Native American flute was not just an instrument used just to play or to express, entertainment for either oneself or others, but it was an important key tool to courtship. That's right. For you young bucks out there, this is something you might find interesting. A long time ago, if a young man in some native cultures, not all native cultures, but in some native cultures, would find a woman that he wanted to court or get the attention of, he would, do all he could to get her attention, from trying to show off or trying to be a good hunter. In some cases, also, they would go to the elder that made the flutes and they would work out a system with them and, a deal. And when they came to an agreement, the elder then would make the flute for the young warrior. And what he would do is he would stand outside of the lodge of the woman in which he wanted to court and would play the most beautiful song. And if he did not know a song to play, then he would also ask the same elder and offer tobacco or whatever trade they agreed on to teach him a song to play. And so he would take that song and he would learn it. He would practice it. He would go far in the woods, away from everybody, and practice until he had it down pat. And then he would stand outside of the lodge of the woman that he wanted to court. And he would stand outside and he would play. He would play his heart to tell his heart's content. Or play till he was blue in the face. Now, one of two things would happen here. Either the young woman would proceed out of her parents' lodge and she would walk up to him and put her arm through his arm and they would walk off. And then sometimes if she had a shawl, she would even wrap it around him as they walked and he played. Or the young woman's parents would get very annoyed with the young man. And so then the father would walk out, grab the flute, and proceed to beat him over the head with it. Now, I don't know if that last part was true or not, but that is the way as it was told to me, and that is the way I will tell it, for it was the way it was passed down to me through oral tradition. And that's another thing about keeping culture alive and And, whether it's through painting, whether it's through music, whether it's through small documentary, small historical things, um, that type of thing, the oral tradition was a magnificent, wonderful way that history was kept, history was taught to the young, and in some ways it's slowly dying out, but yet there is also still the small few that remain that still pass on these traditions orally. That's how the history, native history, was recorded. Wasn't wrote down, but passed down from generation to generation through oral tradition. And I've learned a few stories through the oral tradition, and some that I have learned from reading. But I've also told these same stories to quite a few people that I've read, and so by doing that, I've played a small little part in keeping that oral tradition alive. And so now, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls of all ages, whenever you hear, listen to the little story that I've told, you yourself not only have received, you know, a bit of an idea of into the culture, you know, but for those of you that got grandchildren or children, and you're trying to think of a way to entertain them, whether you're camping, fishing, or in a situation where, you got to sit and be around somewhere, for a long time, and you're wondering, how am I going to keep these children in line. Now you got a little story that you could tell them, or if you can entice kids nowadays, they got their noses stuck into their iPads and iPhones and whatever else, because I will say this, technology is a wonderful, beautiful thing, but at the same time too, technology has also destroyed certain things as well. And oral tradition, that is one thing that has kind of helped do some of those things. But just like everything in this world, everything can be used for good, but even the what's used for good can also be used for bad. It just depends on how a person uses something and also where their heart's at. And me and one of my adopted uncles, we would go to these little functions, and we would dress in our regalia. And if you don't know what regalia is, then I say go here on YouTube and look up a powwow. Type in Native American powwow dancing. And look at the clothing that you see the dancers wear, as well as even some people that can't dance sometimes will sit on a drum, or they would just be there in their regalia, as which is what you call respectfully the clothing that you see dancers and people that participate in powwows wear as regalia. And it's not a costume by no means, because each and every single individual, from baby all the way up to old woman and old man, their regalia is a part of them, a part of their mind, body, soul, and spirit, because their regalia tells a story about them even by itself. Because you might see, a woman with a beautiful, beautiful shawl that might have beautiful, intricate design sewed into it, and it'd be a beautiful picture. That picture that's on that shawl, or the stitch work that's in that shawl, tells a story about that person, because, you know, there might be a story of how they received the shawl, or why that they have that shawl. And you might see, a man, who has moccasins a different way, or their ribbon shirt is sewn up a certain particular way, or maybe a choker of some sort, or even jewelry, or even headwear or attire. They might wear it, or display it in a certain way. And there's a reason and a story behind why that person has that, or how they received that piece of regalia. And there was an old thing that I was taught when I first started dancing and participating in my Native American culture and learning more about it. And that is, they say each year you add something new to your regalia. And sometimes it comes to either by someone gifting it to you, or you see something that has at a stand, a little seller booth that just pops out at you, and and it might catch your eye and call out to your heart and your soul and your spirit. And so sometimes you'll buy that piece and you add to your regalia, whether it's a bracelet or even a new ribbon shirt or leggings, or maybe cloth to make a breech clout, or maybe someone had already made a breech clout. And just in case you don't know what a breech clout is, respectfully, from a Native American point of view, we call them breech clouts, but also you might also. Sorry about that brief interruption. I had an alarm that just went off. But and also another word for it is some people call it a loring cloth, but or even some people might also call it an apron. But it was a traditional piece worn by men. And I'll tell you one thing, if you ain't never been to a powwow at all, I recommend going, and it's a learning experience, because sometimes the EMC, the guy that's announcing the dances and pretty much working the dance arena, um sometimes those guys will even tell you a story about the history of why a certain dance is particularly done. And one of my favorite type of dances is a woman's dance, a traditional woman's dance, and they're called jingle dancers. And all along their dress, there'll be little metal cones all around their dress. And on that dress, all those metal cones represent one day out of the year. And some of these jingle dancers, just to give you an idea of what the jingle dancer was, the jingle dancer was kind of like the Native American form of kind of like a nun, or a very pure woman. And only a woman could be a jingle dancer that I'm aware of. I don't know nothing about the two spirit stuff or any of that nature. I have not the knowledge of that or anything. And just in case anybody wants to know what two spirits is, that is another respectful way of a Native American point of view of pretty much saying someone is gay, homosexual, lesbian, stuff with the LGBT community, stuff like that. That's how the Native American people respectfully, without being prejudiced, racist, or any of the negative things attached to such things, that is the respectful way of how we say that, is we just say two spirits. Now, I don't know nothing about how that works on this end, but just from the normal side of things that I know is, and I shouldn't say normal, because I guess some people would get offended by that, but anybody that's followed this channel, you know how I am. I don't claim to be the brightest person in the world, but I just want to tell you the story of this history, and share this with you. But anyways, a jingle dancer, some of them start out and take that commitment, because it's a long life commitment, from the time that they decide to be a jingle dancer all the way up till the day that they pass on. You know, that they die and they take their spirit journey. And or from the Christian point of view, they die and all that. But they make a vow, a pledge to be pure. The only difference is they're allowed to marry, but they know not a man until they are married. They can date and all that, but they live a very pure life as much as possible. And from the time they're small, so some of them start out very small, and sometimes it's even passed down through, mother to daughter, in some cases like that. But if they start out small, of course they, on account of their dresses, they can't put all those cones. But as they grow and get older, they add those cones on their dress, and so you got to think about it. There's 365 days out of the year, and each cone represents a day out of the year. Now, how they came about was anytime there was an elder or someone that was sick, very sick, ill, or even someone that was dying, even, they would call for the jingle dancer to come in because it was believed that the jingle sound off of their dress was healing and soothing to the mind, body, heart, and spirit. And so they would do what they called a jingle dance, and they would be praying the whole time that they were dancing. And also Native American people as a whole believe that our dance is our prayer to Creator. Just the same as for me when I play a flute, I find it to be my prayer to Creator. And that's my personal belief and how I feel. But anyways, I love it when I'm at a powwow and I see the jingle dancers, come out and they dance. It lifts my spirit, because I don't know what it is. If it's just the idea behind, the commitment that these young women, and when I say young women, these are young women all the way up from, in their teens, and then you have even young girls that, decide, hey, I want to do this. I want to take on this commitment like this. And it's beautiful to see that, with all the things going on in today's world, and what the media and social media and all these things out in the world that's wicked, that tries to make you think that, well, you should be like this, or oh, it's okay to look, pardon the expression, but it's okay to look slutty and blah 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 blah. The whole jazz, and to see that there are young women, you know, not only making an example for the younger, but also even, the older women. You look at, with the knowledge and knowing what it takes to be a jingle dancer, that is a very beautiful thing. And I have a great deal of respect for that. Always thought, it would be nice, if I ever had a daughter, that they would decide, see that, and seek out someone that could teach them about those ways, and everything. That would be that's something a father could be proud of, And if you ain't never went to a powwow or seen a jingle dance, then they got some jingle dances online, but to be there in person, it is absolutely soul lifting. To me, it's the whole entire idea of a powwow. Not only was it back in the day another way of trading and everything, but in today's world, the powwow to Native American people, indigenous people, is a celebration of our past, our present, our future, and who we are mentally, physically, and spiritually, and just celebrating that and lifting up prayers to Creator God. And it's a wonderful thing. And so if you ain't never been to a powwow or checked out a powwow, I recommend that. In some of my upcoming videos, if I can, when I go through and get done showing you all my flutes and everything, I would love to also show you the two hand drums I have. I got prior videos of me playing my hand drums, but I don't know if I've ever really went into depth stories or anything about them. And then also maybe if I can, since I'm back here in Indiana, get a hold of some people and maybe might be able to present to you all a grandfather drum, and it's the drum that you hear at powwows. Well, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls of all ages, I humbly thank you for hitting like, share, and subscribe. Thank you to all the fans for taking time out of your life to spend a little bit of time with me. And to all the new fans, I thank you and I welcome you. For all the folks out there that are just, ain't subscribed or or just got a channel to watch videos, if you ain't subscribed, I like to encourage you to subscribe. Leave a comment. And also for those out there that have thought about making a channel, or not channel, but making a video, I meant, whether it's a YTPC video, as which, if you've watched pipe videos and pipe and tobacco videos and you love it and everything and thought about giving it a try, I like to encourage you to do that. And the YTPC is a beautiful community. And and I say, just don't take my word for it. Check it out. And if you're just wanting to be a YouTube presenter and present any type of video or a particular content, but ain't for sure, I say you never know till you try. And the way to try is to get the courage to make that first video. That's all it takes. But ladies and gentlemen, until next time, wherever you're at in this world, may you be blessed. Till next time.